You don't have to do what you love to be happy. Oh, but you do because you spend most of the time at work. So most of your life is spent at work. So you have to do something that you love. No, you don't. Today, I'm going to tell you why. If you're a person who feels completely miserable or upset and feel like you have no purpose just because you don't do what you love, come have a seat at the adults table and let's talk about it. I'm Fernanda Rodriguez, and welcome to the Adults Table. Today, I feel like I look like a Dalmatian. I don't like this blazer at all. I painted this a couple of years ago when I was in my painting blazers era, which I love, by the way, but this one I don't love. But I made a promise to myself that I will only wear Latina brands or clothes that have the colors of my podcast, which are the colors of the Brazilian flag as well. So I'm kind of running out. If you're a Latina brand, send me clothes, please. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to go on Nuuly pretty soon to order more clothes. Anyway, let's talk about doing what you love. I grew up knowing that the right way of living life was doing what you loved. I had this sign in my room saying, do what you love what you do. So for me to be here telling you that you don't have to do what you love to be happy, you have to trust what I'm saying. Because that idea was completely insane to me, that it was possible for someone to be happy without doing what they love. And I think this topic is extremely relevant because more and more we see people saying, do what you love and you're not going to work a single day in your life. Or people trying to sell you these courses or coaching for you to figure out what you love and your purpose. And you can then become someone basically who's worth living. We have this idea that our purpose needs to be attached to our work and it needs to be something beautiful, noble, amazing. If you follow me on social media, you've seen one of the videos that I posted recently talking about purpose. I'm briefly going to give kind of the high level of what I said, but basically, I think our purpose in life is to get to know ourselves and become really good at being who we are. I think that it's so freaking hard to, number one, know who you are, considering all the noise there is. And number two, being whole and being really good at being that. It is so difficult to navigate emotions, limiting beliefs, projections. It is so difficult to do that, that in my opinion, to become who you are is already a lifetime work. And if you become really good at being who you are and you serve life by being so in touch with your powers and who you are as an individual, that in itself is a beautiful purpose. If each person was focused on becoming who they are, the world would be better. I fully believe that. All of that to say that I do not believe that your purpose is in your work. You can serve life in other ways. And I think it's part of being human to want to be useful. And I think there is purpose in that, right? In finding the thing that makes you more useful, I guess. But it doesn't have to be your job. If it is, great, awesome. Very important to say that when I say you don't have to work with what you love, I'm not saying that you have to be miserable at your job. There's a huge difference. Don't be miserable at your job. But you also need to understand that doing what you love is not the only way to be happy. In fact, I do believe that sometimes doing what you love is a trap. So here's how I see this today. I think first and foremost, it is very important to differentiate between a hobby, a job, a career, and a vocation. I once saw this video from Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, and Love, talking about the difference between these four things. Gilbert, for who's not familiar with her story, she's an author, as I mentioned. She had this best-selling book, Eat, Pray, and Love. I think everyone knows that book. But up until the point, I think up until Eat, Pray, and Love, actually, she still had a job, like a job on the side. And she's had multiple jobs throughout her life. While she was exercising her vocation, which is writing, she had multiple jobs. So the way that she approaches this, and I'll link the video here because she spoke way better than I could, but basically out of these four things, the only one that you need is a job. The reality is that as adults, we need jobs to make a living, to pay our bills. We have to be connected with our reality. That is not a choice. We need a job. And the purpose of a job is to make a living. It's to pay for our things. That is the purpose of a job. I don't have to be the happiest. I don't have to find my purpose here. The purpose of a job is to make a living. Then you have a hobby, which is something that you do for pure fun. You don't have to be good at a hobby. You just do it because you like it. You just do it because it makes you happy. You just do, you don't have to be amazing at it. You don't have to make money off of it. And then you have a career, which is basically a job that you like, that you want to dedicate time and energy on, and you want to expand on that path. You're willing to sacrifice things for that career. So to have a career, you must like that job. And last but not least, you have a vocation, which is your calling. It's something that you don't have to monetize on. If you do wonderful, amazing, you can turn that into a job, great. But you don't have to monetize on your vocation. Your vocation can be expressed in multiple ways beyond a job. So in her example, she even says, even if I don't publish any other book, even if I lose all my publishing deals, even if the publishing industry ceases to exist, I will still keep writing because it's my vocation. It's part of who I am. It's my calling. So you do that in spite of making money, in spite of, you're so committed to that vocation because it is part of who you are and part of what you have to give to the world. So some people are going to identify and navigate through these four things. Some people are just going to have one or the other. Some people are just going to have a job, and that's okay. You have to find yourself in that. And also, I don't think it's as straightforward to find a vocation, for example. In fact, I think that the things that are our vocation sometimes are so obvious to us that we don't even realize that they are our vocation. It's such a big part of who we are that we're not aware that, oh my gosh, I'm actually really fulfilled by this. So differentiate these four, because even, for example, turning a vocation into a job, this takes time, which brings me to my second point. We're raising a generation that thinks that if they don't work with what they love, they're wrong. It's wrong. They're losing time. They're wasting life. You can just expect that your first job out of college is going to be your dream job. And it's going to be, like it takes time. We completely disregard the process of things. There's a book that I really enjoy that's called So Good They Can't Ignore You. This book is probably from 10 years ago, but I think it's so relevant. I think everyone should read this book. I think it's a really, really good way of thinking about how to be fulfilled doing something at work. This book pretty much talks about the fact that it's not doing what we love that fulfills us, but he has other definitions of what actually fulfills us. He does his extensive research, talks to a bunch of people, and then he suggested this different idea of work, or of work that makes you feel fulfilled. I should have prepared more because I don't have it on the top of my head. I've read this book a while back, but I think it was autonomy, connection, I think even like connection to the people or connection to the work, and something else. I don't know. I'm going to go back to my notes when I edit this. Again, terrible job. I'm sorry that I'm not more prepared for this, but this book is amazing. All right, friends, it's autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy being you have control over your day, competence being you're good at what you do, and relatedness being you're connected to the people. And what I like about this idea that he offers is that he's very clear about the fact that in order for you to get to that point, so you have autonomy, you have, connection to what you're doing, you need something that's called career capital. So you have to have something to offer in return to earn that autonomy, to earn, to earn the things that are actually going to fulfill you. It's not just like, hey, yeah, I'm going to do something that I love and I deserve it and I'm amazing and I'm special, which is what we make this generation think. It's actually, hey, there's a process to it. So if you don't build resistance to that, if you don't endure maybe something that you don't love and something that is uncomfortable, then you're never going to get to the point of doing fulfilling work. The other thing that I like about this book is that the author talks about the fact that a passion is not something obvious. It's not something that everyone has. And then we just need courage to live the life of our dreams. That's just not the reality. And the idea that courage is the only thing that we need is deceiving. Many of us don't even know what we love. And we get so attached to this idea that we have to do work that we love, that it has to be amazing, that even when we're doing a job that we like, we keep thinking, is this what I love? Is this enough? Is there something out there that I love more? So the idea of doing work that you love keeps you in a loop. And what time is it going to be enough? When are you going to like it enough to know that, yeah, I should continue to do this because I like it? When you have this idea on the back of your head that the quote unquote right way of living life is doing what you love, you're always going to be wondering if you love that thing enough or if you're still in the wrong place. Another important thing that this author talks about in the book, and I've experienced that myself when I had my brand, I had a fashion brand, and I love fashion, but I hated owning a brand. Because here's what happens when you love something and you turn that into a job. That thing is no longer a passion only. It's a job. So it comes with other things that a job requires. It comes with a bunch of things that you don't like doing. For my fashion brand, I love the process of coming up with concepts and ideas and thinking of how that could be expressed in the clothes. I love that process. But guess what? That was 1% of having a brand. I was studying about taxes, about importing clothing to the US, about how to fill out a form, like a customs form. You're doing everything yourself in the beginning, marketing, sales, everything. You're talking to influencers, like you're doing so many things. You're managing cash flow. So you have to learn, the financial aspect of it. So at the end of the day, I was like, I love fashion and I love creating, but I hate this. So when you turn something that you love into a job, it's a job. It's not just a hobby. You got to make it work. You got to make it profitable. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that simple. I think it is possible to turn something that you really enjoy, that you really like, that you're passionate about into a job and still like it. I really do believe that it's possible, but it's not the same as to project all of your happiness into that thing. I think that's the biggest difference, because when you do project all of your happiness into the idea of doing what you love, you're going to become frustrated because the moment that any inconvenience presents itself, you're going to give up. You're going to say, no, the right thing wouldn't be like this. What I love wouldn't be like this. Yes, it would, because that's the reality. That's life. We have to be connected with what is. And you cannot run away from discomfort and from challenges at work. So change the idea that you have about doing what you love so you can endure the process of actually getting to a point that you're fulfilled with what you do, that you like what you do. If you're miserable at your job, go find another job. You don't have to be miserable at work. You can do something that you like. And most importantly, stop living in a provisional state in which you think that the life that you live right now is just a placeholder. What's happening right now is life. This is your life. That job that maybe you don't love, that is part of getting to a job that you love. And life happens now. If you project all of your happiness in that perfect job, the idea of the perfect job, you might never find it because your mindset and your idea of happiness is not realistic. Go find a job that you like. Go find hobbies that you enjoy. Go get in touch with your vocation, but allow that to happen throughout your life. Allow your job to fund things that you love. You don't need to do what you love in order to be happy. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.